Hello, New Hampshire, and thank you so much for joining us. We are here on behalf of IDW Publishing, a terrific graphic novel publisher based out of San Diego, California. My name is Lee Walton. I'm the marketing director and an editor at Top Shelf Productions, the sort of artsy imprint of IDW.
And I'm Michelle. I'm a digital marketing associate for IDW on the IDW side, and we're excited to share some of our YA titles with you today. So I'll kick it off for IDW. First up, we have Redbone. If you've watched Guardians of the Galaxy, the hit movie, then you definitely know the song Come and Get Your Love. But what you may not know is that the band behind the song, Redbone, were not only rock artists, but Native American civil rights pioneers. This is Redbone, the true story of a Native American rock band, and it is a graphic novel version of the riveting and powerful story of the Native American civil rights movement through the high-flying career of West Coast rock and roll pioneers Redbone. It is a true behind-the-scenes look at the band's experience through the movement and their careers. It is created in cooperation with the co-founder of the band, Pat Vegas of the band, and his daughter Frankie Vegas provide both a foreword and afterword. And together we're really excited to bring this story to readers, and it will also be simultaneously published in Spanish. And Be Gay Do Comics is our new massive queer comics anthology from the Nib. This is created in collaboration with over 30 top indie cartoonists about queer history from the American Revolution to Stonewall, all the way up until today. And what's great about Be Gay Do Comics is that because it's an anthology, we have so many creators and we're able to capture so many diverse queer experiences for readers to be able to relate to. And with the message that there is no one way to be queer. And this is available now. And last year, we were excited to welcome Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo into the IDW publishing family. We started a new ongoing series to pick up the adventures of Usagi, brand new ongoing series, but we're also excited to go back on his 35-year history. Usagi has been a character that's been beloved for 35 years, but we're also excited to shed a new light on his history. So Usagi Yojimbo Origins is the first run of Usagi, but now in color. So the readers that loved Usagi 35 years ago can love it today along with new audiences. And for the fans of Star Wars and Marvel action, we have the opportunity to collaborate with popular franchises and pop culture to be able to bring young, middle grade friendly content of the movies that people love for young readers. So they can read about the Avengers and Captain Marvel and Rey all in a young reader friendly format. It's a great way to get reluctant readers reading and for them to be able to engage with their favorite characters. And also on the flip side, at IDW, we're able to kind of look back on comic history, and with our divisions such as the Library of American Comics and Sunday Press. In these editions, we're able to go back on the famous newspaper comics of beloved characters such as Dick Tracy, Little Orphan Annie, and stuff that is really just fun to look at in terms of comic history, but are able to be presented in a nice hardbound volume. And I will kick it over to Lee for Top Shelf.
Thanks, Michelle. First up from the Top Shelf side, I'm so happy to talk to you about An Embarrassment of Witches. This is sort of one of the new adult books. It's sort of an adult YA crossover, as two best friends are finished with college and forced to confront the question, what do you do with a BA in spellcrafting? So this is a urban fantasy full of magic and enchanted plants and still so many of the things that we'll recognize from our reality: unreliable boys, difficulty finding a job, trying to find your place in the world. Publishers Weekly says this affable coming-of-age fantasy adds a touch of magic to familiar human comedy, and it is absolutely captivating and charming. Next up, we have Camp Spirit. This is a wonderful teen book about being a camp counselor, struggling with coming to identify as queer, and dealing with some very obnoxious but secretly lovable campers who are doing their best to drive you absolutely crazy, all while attempting to solve the mystery of a supernatural horror that may be haunting the camp. hence the title. School Library Journal said, funny and believable with wonderful expressions and amusing dialogue. There's so much that readers will enjoy about this coming of age camp comedy, romance, a dose of paranormal horror, and laugh out loud shenanigans. Camp Spirit is out now from the wonderful Montreal cartoonist Axel Lenoir. And speaking of Axel, we will also be publishing her next book called What If We Were at the end of 2020. This is a story about using your imagination with your best friend. We all know that teen girls rewrite the universe on a daily basis, but this book takes that idea and literalizes it as they play this game of what if, what if, what if. We see under Axel's wonderful cartooning, their imaginations come to life. And as these individual comic strips are entertaining and delightful, we get to know these characters a little bit better. And over the course of the strip, a plot begins to form. And there's another sort of queer coming of age narrative as a third girl shows up and wants to play their game as well. And she's really cute. So What If We Were will be available from Axel Lenoir in December. Next, we have a terrific book for middle grade and really for truly all ages. Cody is a watercolor, gorgeous story of love between a little girl and the giant bear that she befriends in the woods outside her grandmother's house in Alaska. But when she moves away, they are separated, and the result is a really page-turning adventure story about these two friends trying to become reunited. Starred review from School Library Journal. It's beautifully crafted, thoughtfully paced, and sweet as can be. This tale is ideal for reluctant and voracious readers alike to be savored and shared between friends, young, old, and in between. I can't say enough good, wonderful things about this artwork and this sweet, sweet story. Up next, we have three fascinating cartoonists from Australia in what we call the Australian Invasion from Top Shelf this year. I'm particularly keen to draw your attention to Home Time from Campbell White. This is the second of 2 volumes that completes the fantasy epic of 6 friends who fall into a river after their last day of primary school, or sort of middle school in our system. And the New York Times says, it is a richly imagined world, and White immerses readers in it. These 6 friends on the last day of school fall into a river and wake up in a fantasy world that is drawn deep inspiration from a long history of children's stories, fantasy RPGs, books like Dinotopia by James Gurney, and so on. And we are thrilled to bring you the conclusion in Home Time Book 2 as the kids finally have a desperate plan to make their way back home to the real world. Also available as part of the Australian Invasion, The Grot, the story of 2 teenage brothers who are in a dystopian swamp city in a world where everybody's trying to rip everybody else off. And we get a sort of haunting view of what life after climate apocalypse might be like. And third, a more adult story from Chris Gooch called Under Earth about prisoners trying to build a life for themselves in an underground prison city. Following that, we are delighted to share with you They Called Us Enemy Expanded Edition. You're probably quite familiar with this award-winning New York Times bestseller, and we are thrilled to bring it into your libraries in a hardcover edition with 16 pages of bonus content. And this will feature behind-the-scenes photos, annotations from George Takei and his team about how they took his memories of growing up in the American concentration camps during World War II and turned it into this compelling award-winning graphic novel, complete with historical documents and more. Following that, we wanted to share with you IDW's publishing plan in Spanish. As Michelle mentioned earlier, Redbone will be a simultaneous release in English and in Spanish. We also have published Spanish editions of They Called Us Enemy with George Takei. The first volume of Lock and Key, now a hit show on Netflix. Red Panda and Moon Bear, a wonderful Cuban-American story from Jared Rossello, which takes place in a sort of fantastical version of Miami. And 2 volumes of Sonic the Hedgehog, one of our most beloved series for young readers. These are all translated and published in-house at IDW. And finally, we are thrilled to be partnering with the Smithsonian Institution and their huge array of museums and learning institutions. There will be many, many books to come from this Smithsonian partnership. Details TBD as we get closer, but the first two volumes we can see on the next slide will be coloring books. One about dinosaurs and one about airplanes. These are in partnership with the Museum of Natural History and the National Air and Space Museum. So not only are they relaxing coloring book exercises, but they're also full of beautiful facts and information about dinosaurs and airplanes. And finally, a look ahead to spring 2021. Michelle, do you want to talk about Goosebumps?
Yeah, we're excited to have New York Times bestselling author Marieke Nijkamp taking on Goosebumps. It is the story of Blake, who is expecting a very quiet summer at her aunt's cabin, but gets anything but that when she finds herself in the middle of a turf war with werewolves and werewolf hunters.
Fantastic. And coming in April from Top Shelf, Onion Skin, the debut from an amazing Mexican cartoonist, Edgar Camacho. This is a story about falling in love with a girl at a rock and roll show and launching a crazy new business out of a food truck and suddenly getting on the run from a biker gang. It is full of energy and charm, and we can't wait to share more with you as we get closer to next year. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks.